Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming down today. You're all very welcome to our information evening about Schols. My name is Rachel. I'm the secretary to the scholars this year. And yeah, we'll start the presentation. So this presentation will also be live streamed through Zoom. If you have any questions for people online, feel free to send the messages directly onto our Instagram at TCD Scholars. And yeah. And there's also captions available as well. You can have subtitles to view. So our information evening will be split up into two parts. We have our general presentation first. We'll just explain a bit about the scholarship, the structure of the exams, and we'll have a course-specific Q&A afterwards. And you can ask your questions directly to scholars who won the exams in your course. Perfect. So this is the layout of the room for the second half of the session. You don't need to take pictures right now. I'll make sure to flash this up again at the end of the presentation. But you can see here that most of the STEM and the health science courses will stay in the Ed Burke Lecture Theatre, while the arts courses will move to the Robert Emmett Theatre afterwards. Okay. And if you do notice that your course is not displayed on the screen up there, what you can do is you can come down to us at the end of the general presentation and we'll try our best to connect you with a scholar in your course. Perfect. So yeah, on to the main presentation then. So a bit about the history. The Trinity Foundation Scholarship is as old as the college itself. It initially started off with only 3 scholars. And this line here, just below in italics, it's straight from the charter of the college there. Then in 1637, under King Charles, the charter was changed a bit. It said that the number of scholars is fixed at 70, and these were foundation scholars. So in the past, these were white male Protestants, but we now have non-foundation scholarships as well. Foundation scholarships and foundation scholarships and non-foundation scholarships. So what's the difference between them? Nowadays, there's not too much difference, but the non-foundation scholarships were introduced in the past for Catholics, women, and students studying outside of theology, classics, and philosophy. Nowadays, the only difference between the two is that foundation scholars are still able to vote alongside the fellows on certain changes to the university. But I'd like to emphasize that this is really, really rare. It's only happened once in the past 20 years, so it's really it's not something to be worried over. So a lot of the Trinity alumni were past scholars. So we have a few of them listed here. We've Samuel Beckett, Ernest Walton, who were Nobel laureates, Oscar Wilde, of course, and J.M. Singh, who were playwrights, Mary Robinson, former president, Jack Leeson from Game of Thrones, Sally Rooney, Lenny Abrahamson from Normal People, and some of you might know Adrian Hill as well. He was one of the lead researchers on the Oxford team who developed the AstraZeneca vaccine. We also have Philip Lane, European Central Bank chief economist, and a few familiar names on campus as well. So Burke, Singh, Usher. And I'd also like to mention a few of the past provosts were scholars as well. So on to the benefits then. And these benefits listed here, you get to avail of whether or not you get Schols. So the way the exams are structured, they make you study beyond the requirements of your course. That allows you to have a deep understanding of your subject area. And this is the incentive to critically engage with your discipline, maybe even earlier than some of your peers. And for certain subjects where you have capstone projects, it will help you identify your interests, what areas you might consider doing further research on. Aside from that, there's also the personal satisfaction and growth that comes to working for Schols. So the commitment, the sacrifice, and all your dedication going towards this. And another benefit then is, of course, you'll be more prepared for your end of year exams, your Michaelmas, Trinity term, Hillary term exams. And yeah, that's another one to add to the list. And then on to the entitlements then. So in terms of fees, if you're an Irish or EU student, your fees will be fully covered. For international students, your fees will be reduced by the same level as the EU and Irish students. I'd like to mention though, scholars must pay for their SU and sports center fees themselves. You will be provided accommodation for up to 9 months of the year. And there is one summer of accommodation that you can apply for as well, usually by postgrads for research purposes. And you have 5 years in total for the scholarship. Your very first year, you will be housed in Trinity Hall, but for the other 4 years, you will be on campus. And yeah, if you will not be in Ireland during the year, maybe if you're doing your Erasmus, you can choose to do cash in lieu of rooms as well. It amounts to about 2,200 and it's paid in 4 installments over the year. I'd also like to mention that scholars must pay the cost of their own utilities. So other benefits then, we have Commons, which is a daily 3-course meal in the dining hall. It's Mondays to Fridays, so Mondays to Thursdays, it's always at 6:15. And on Fridays, it's usually at lunchtime, but you have the option to take your meal in the buttery as well. It's a really, really great aspect of Schols because every night there's about 90 to 100 scholars in attendance. And it's just really nice to sit in front of a new face every night and all the friends you get to make. It's really great. Other benefits then, you have your annual salary of 250. And then next we have the Shannon vote alongside all the Trinity graduates. However, it's likely that the government is due to change this. They're making some changes to the panel for Trinity and the other NUI, sorry, my bad, as well. So hopefully that's not the reason all of you guys are going for Schols. We have the post-nominal SCH title as well that you get. So the duration of Schols is for 5 years, and you are allowed to intermit for a maximum of 3 years. And I'd like to mention you don't have to do 3 consecutive years. You could finish your primary course, take a gap year, come back to a master's, take another year, and it's up to you. But it's a maximum of 3 years you can intermit. So at this point, I'd like to mention you might have heard some rumors, but it's important to say that scholarship does not involve sheep grazing, sword wielding, asking for bread or ale or port at exams, or most disappointingly, unfettered access to the college wine cellars. So please ignore the myths. Unfortunately, there's no secret entitlements or privileges. So the scholarship allows 3 years of up to 3 years for postgraduate study, depending on how long your primary course is. So with these years, you can choose to do PhD, a master's, or if you're in medicine, you can do an integrated master's that allows postgraduate study to be much more feasible in Trinity. Many scholars do then decide to do go study in Oxford, Cambridge, or any of the Ivy Leagues. I'd like to mention the Foundation Scholarship does not cover your tuition for those colleges, but having this achievement, it will help your application. So I'll pass this now to Aidan, who will talk to you a bit about the structure of the exam.
Thanks, Rachel. Hi guys, I'm Aidan. I'm the Assistant Secretary to the Schols Committee this year, and I study medicine. I'm final year medicine. So I got Schols back in 2021, when you were all probably still in transition year. So I feel pretty old here. But I'm going to talk about the exam structure and what's basically the criteria for getting Schols, and then also a little bit about how we kind of advise people to prepare for them. So the exams consist of either 3 or 4 exams, depending on your course. For medicine, it was 4 exams. For a lot of the arts and humanities courses, I think it's only 3, but it roughly equals out to about 8 or 9 hours over the week. So it's quite a lot of exams just in 1 week. There are general sections, and papers have to comprise 25% of the total of the exams. And there are certain requirements for the scholarship, as in like what you get in the exams. So you need to get an average of a first class honors, which is 70%. And you also need to get at least 2 papers above 70%. So if you're sitting 4 papers, you need to get 2 out of those 4 need to be above 70, and the same with 3. So you can drop either 2 papers below 70 or 1 paper below 70, depending on how many exams you're doing. And additionally, none of the papers can be below 65%. So even though I'll show a few examples later on as well, but even though you're doing brilliantly in 2 papers out of 3, and you're writing the best Schols exam that's ever been written, if you get below 65% in the 3rd exam, then you won't be elected to scholarship. So just bear that in mind when you're preparing for the exams. Also, you have to sit the exams in your senior freshman year, so that's 2nd year. In very exceptional circumstances, you can apply to the senior lecturer to postpone the exams and sit them in your junior sophistry year, but that's a very uncommon occurrence. But if you feel that there might be a reason why you couldn't sit the exams this year, do get in touch with the senior lecturer and let them know your situation. And there might be the potential to postpone the exams until you're more ready to sit them next year. So the Schols exams are not just like ordinary exams in your course. They're meant to be searching examinations. They expect a significant level of critical engagement with the material that you've already covered. So that's not to say that you need to be covering modules that will be taught in third and fourth year, as in like material that hasn't been covered yet. What it generally tends to mean is that you need to cover the material that has been covered up until now, but at a deeper level that would be expected at a regular undergraduate level. So that could either mean extra reading that that your lecturers have recommended, or even extra reading that they haven't recommended, just to show that you're more interested in the subject than the normal undergraduate student, and that you have thought about what you've developed an opinion about the subject, which shows that you have a grasp of the general arguments that exist around the subject, and then have also thought about what side of the argument you come down on. And as part of that, then Schols, it's not awarded based on the amount of hours one studies. So you can get by an undergraduate and pass and even get maybe a 2-1 by just having rote learning and kind of just doing what is required and no more. But you need to be going beyond what would be expected for a regular undergraduate exam. Luckily for some, unluckily for others, maybe performance in previous exams is not taken into account. So the exams are anonymously marked. There is no record of your past exams and how good or otherwise of a student you are. So you're only graded on those 3 or 4 exams you do in that week in January. So you should take hope if you feel that you haven't performed maybe in some exams up until now. Those will not have any bearing on your ability to get Schols. And luckily for us all, there is no limit to the number of people who get Schols. A few years ago, there was talk of a quota, but luckily it never came about. So over the years, it's kind of varied around 55 to 75, and it kind of bounces between those numbers, but there's never any set number and there's no pattern. So it's not it's a competitive exam, but it's not direct competition between you and your peers. So that should encourage you to work together with your peers to kind of mutually benefit from working together. So yeah, these are the examples. So let's say your course wanted you set 3 papers. In the first example there, the candidates got 73%, 66, and 71, giving them an average of 70%. So they've satisfied the average of a first. They have 2 or more papers at a first, and then all their papers are above 65 plus. For candidate B, they got a good average mark, and they also have all their papers above 65. But 2 of their papers were below 70%, so they didn't get Schols, despite getting a higher average than the first candidate. Again, for the third candidate, similarly, a good average score, but 1 of their papers was below 65%. So again, they don't get Schols. And for the last candidate, they had all above 65%, 2 of them above 70, but their average was less than a first, so they don't get Schols. And then similarly for 4 papers, top person satisfies all the criteria. The second candidate has 3 exams less than 70%. The third candidate has 1 exam less than 65%, and the fourth candidate then has an average of less than 70%. So that's just to demonstrate the 3 criteria that you need to meet. So you need to be scoring consistently highly across all papers. You can't compensate. You can compensate to some extent, but you can't compensate if you get below 64%, 65% in one. So you've got through the exams around the start of the new year, and that's basically Schols done. You don't have to think about it anymore until Trinity Monday. So it's nice to just be able to put it out of your head, particularly as you'd have gone through quite a fairly stressful period of study beforehand. But once you finish that last paper, you can forget completely about it and move on with whatever else you want to do in your life. And then by the time Trinity Monday comes around, that's when the notification happens. So some of you might have been there last year. It's a great morning, and there's a great buzz about the college. when everyone gathers in Front Square to listen to the provost read out the fellows and then the scholars who are going to be elected this year. Then for the successful scholars, there are celebrations during the rest of the day. There's a dinner with your new cloaks. There's a party in the provost's garden, and I'm sure a few drinks will be taken. So it's a great day if you're successful. And sorry, you're not required to attend the announcement. But if you don't, you'll probably find out pretty soon from your friends texting the group chat. As I said, the numbers fluctuate from year to year. Last year there were 74, a bit of a bumper year actually. And then the year before 62, before that 51, and my year were 73. So again, there's no pattern there. It kind of fluctuates around the roughly kind of average of 65. So once you sign up for Schols, there's no obligation on you to sit the exams. You can sign up and then just not turn up. And there's going to be no record of that kept on the college transcripts. It'll be as if it never happened. Additionally, then you can sit one exam and you can drop out, and you don't have to complete the week of exams once you've started. But we really want to emphasize that if you get to the exam week and you sit one exam, please do not drop out, because I've heard stories of people. It's so difficult to predict how you did or evaluate how you did in a Schols exam in hindsight, just because emotionally, and also just because you don't really know what the examiner wants to see. So if after the first exam you feel downhearted and you feel like it's a bit of a lost cause, don't give up, because the worst thing that could happen was that you get to Trinity Monday, you look at your mark and you actually did a very good exam, and then you threw away the opportunity to complete the week and show what you're capable of. So the summary is, do not drop out during the middle of the exam week. If you get to the start of the week, make sure you get to the end of the week, and make use of what supports are there to get you there, because it really could be the difference between getting the Schols you deserve and leaving yourself short and regretting it. Speaking of getting to the finish line, then it's not all about burying your head in the books in the library. You need to balance. You're all experts at exams already. You got here and you've got through first year with, I'm sure, good marks already. But so you know how to kind of balance your work with your outside life. So fresh air and exercise, the usual stuff. Don't overwork yourself. It's a long way away yet. It's the start of January and we're only at the end of September now. So that's 3.5 months. Again, if you're looking for critical engagement, that's going to require a little bit of thinking. And so a little bit of time away from not away from your subject, but away from the kind of day-to-day grind of going through books and just sitting back and thinking about what you think about things with a little bit of spare time might actually be beneficial to your mark at the end of the day, and as well as being good for your head, basically. Talk to your friends and family over Christmas. Both those doing Schols, as I said, it's not a competitive exam. Help your peers, and also talk to those who aren't doing Schols, because they'll be able to provide a bit of perspective on the situation, and it's not a life and death situation. As I said, support your peers, and yeah, we're a long way from January, so don't get too hard on yourself. So I'm going to hand it over to Mija here. She's going to talk about the supports that are available for you. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a million. Hey, I'm Mita. I use she, her pronouns. I am a sociology PhD student. I'm the postgrad rep, which means I'm actually way too old to be here. Aidan, if you thought you were old, I got Schols in 2017. So I've no interest in knowing what stage you were at when I got Schols. Yeah, how are you all doing at this stage of the talk? I think I was on the verge of a mild panic attack when I was in your shoes, ready to run to the usher and cram as much information as I could into my head. Don't do that. I guess what we're here to say is, as Aidan was saying, take your time. It is a marathon, not a sprint. These supports are available to you. So the SU Welfare Officer, SU Education Officer, your own college tutor, the college senior tutor, student learning development for things like essay writing, organization and time management, student counseling service, the college health center, the disability service, and your own peers, your classmates, your friends. Take note of this, for yourselves, but also you never know who else in your friend group or your peer group are going to need some of these supports. I think in Ireland, and I'm sure we're not the only culture, we have a tendency to say, I'm grand. It'll be grand. It'll be fine. I'm doing fine. But it is actually okay to ask for help if you need it and ask for support if you need it. And yeah, this is one of my favorite quotes. Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for taking care of. From the very esteemed academic platform that is Instagram. That is perfect. Thanks. Okay, so this is just chatting about the diversity and inclusion subcommittee. So it's a very new year-old subcommittee. It was set up last year by Andrew, who is the Scholars Secretary. So yeah, Andrew, I, and like a couple of others, Rachel as well, got involved. And I suppose our aim is improving the accessibility and inclusivity of the Schols exams. So yeah, as Rachel mentioned, in what, 1637, when it was white male Protestants. I don't think diversity and inclusion was high on their agenda, but it's getting there. We're trying to make it more important. So yeah, so what does that look like? So the first thing we wanted to do was set up bursaries. So that is in collaboration with the TAP, the Trinity Access Program. And the idea is that there's, I think, 3 bursaries that we'll have that students who've come through TAP can apply for. And the idea is just to ease, I suppose, the burden of working, hopefully to be able to cut back on a few hours over Christmas and be able to prioritize studying for the Schols exams. We're going to organize tailored information sessions. So the first one will be next week with the Trinity Access Program, where you'll find more information about the bursaries. Yeah, you can go next. Sorry, here, do you want me to? Sorry, I designed this slide and made it very complicated. So yeah, these are our dates. So session with TAP will be the 3rd of October. Session with the Disability Service will be on the 9th. That is subject to change. So I'd say just keep an eye on our Instagram is the best way to find out about these sessions. So they'll be kind of a little bit like this, but much more informal, much more conversational. There will be students who've, come through TAP, who've worked with the Disability Service there. So the idea is kind of information and peer support. Then looking at peer support coffee, we want to kind of get in touch and create an opportunity for people who are studying for Schols, who are parents or carers, mature students as well, just to have a bit of a network of people who have similar experiences to you. And I'm trying to create a network of current scholars who will also be able to be there to support. And yeah, so we'll have 3 study and social sessions. There will be donuts, there will be tea and coffee. It is a space to study if you want, to rant if you want, but there will be current scholars there to chat to. And yeah, we welcome all new ideas. We're a very baby committee. We're 1 year old. You are the experts in sitting Schols. So if you have any ideas, suggestions as to how to make the process of studying for Schols more accessible, more inclusive, please reach out and let us know. Yeah, that is my email, powerm4@tcd.ie, and then we have scholar secretary at tcd.ie. So if you are maybe not on Instagram and want to be kept up to date with some of these additional sessions that are coming up, please get in touch with either myself or with Rachel. And then, yeah, that is our Instagram handle, where we'll be updating about any upcoming events as well. Will we take questions now or at the end? Yeah. So the first one will be those 2 will be on an Oris on Fairshig. So we'll put up on Instagram the location of those. I don't know it off the top of my head. Yeah, so the Schols exams are open to everyone. So obviously everyone's own individual circumstances will influence how feasible it is to sit Schols. But just to know that, Schols, it can have a bit of an elitist or exclusive reputation, but know that you are just as entitled to apply for it and to sit Schols as any other student here. All right, well, I have that to you.
Aidan, and thanks, Mita. So we just have some useful information here regarding Schols. If you've any questions, you can ask your own college department. You can refer to events organized by schools, departments, and societies. So I know certain courses, like my course, dentistry, we organize our own separate Schols info night. So just your professors might talk a bit more in detail, the exact layout of your exams, how many there are, if there's any changes to that. So it's really important to check up on that. I know there was a business Schols info night on today as well. So yeah, you can look into if your own course department does one. You can also refer to the Scholars website, tc.ie, students/scholars. And you can, don't forget, there's past papers on the TCD website as well. For me personally, the past papers were at the core of my study. I would sort the past paper topics, past paper questions by topic, and then I would make my own sample answers to them and learn them off. So really, really recommend looking at the past papers if you haven't already. And of course, we have the college calendar. It just goes back to the entitlements, benefits that Schols will have, some of the guidelines as well. And of course, you can refer to the statutes. The last point we have is to contact recent scholars in your discipline. So we have our second half of the session, the Q&A by course. But again, if any of the scholars are not present here today for your course, you can also go onto the Scholars website, where I believe you can look up the scholars from your course, and their contact information might be there as well. You can look up. So on to important dates then. So this is one that's worth taking a picture of, I'd say. So applications will open at 9 a.m. on Monday, the 30th of September this year, and they will close at 5 p.m. sharp on Monday, the 14th of October. So you can submit your applications through the AR application form sent by the senior lecturer in his email. I believe it was last week. And then in November, you will be asked to confirm your attendance again. So just, are you still going to sit Schols? And that's from the 11th to the 18th this year. The actual exams will take place in 3 months' time. So this year they'll be from the 6th to the 10th of January. Usually these exams will be on campus, and they'll usually just take place within that first week. And then Trinity Monday, the day that the results come out, will be Monday, the 21st of April this year. So again, they'll be on the exam hall steps in the front square, 10 a.m. So yeah, that's the end of our general presentation. And we had some questions come through on the Instagram here. So I'll pass the mic to Alana, and she'll answer those for you.
Thanks, Rachel, and Rita and Aidan. So my name's Alana, I'm the PRO, and I got a few questions from you guys on Instagram. Some of these are very department specific, so I would recommend you talk to Schols from each department in the Q&A session, but I'll answer the ones that I think I can generally answer now. So one person asked me, what do you do if your department is not very helpful? I would say give out to your department, email them. One person asked, what is the maximum number of scholars per year? Is there an average number? There's no maximum, and the average number is about 60. The beauty of there being no maximum is that you are not competing with your peers, and that's quite a nice thing to keep in mind. So, you know, you don't have to compare yourself to them or kind of withhold information from them. You can work together and help each other. Another person asked me about referencing. Again, this is department specific, but for biomed, I would recommend learning off a few short APA little citations, just author, year, scientific journal. Will there be a marking scheme available? No, I have to say, because Schols is a little bit more subjective than other exams, or maybe subjective is subjective than other exams, and they can't really give you a marking scheme because then it's not the same as an annual exam. So unfortunately not. And then last question I'm going to answer is, one person asked me, will I know the format of the paper before sitting it? Yes, you should. I would recommend looking at past papers and asking your department, will the format be the same this year? Thank you.
So we're just, before we split up into the individual disciplines, we're just going to welcome any questions from the floor at the moment that you think are just a more general question. So if anyone has any that they want. Yeah, it's yourself there. Yeah, just go to both, maybe go to one for a few minutes and then change to the other. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the question was for a joint honors scholarship exam, and you need to get 2 above 70. Do they have to be in the same degree?
I'm actually not too sure.
I don't actually know. Yeah, I think you'd be better to You don't. You don't. Okay, Grant. Yeah. So yeah, any distribution of the marks is okay. Thanks.
Do we have any other questions?
So the question was there any fee, or is there any fee to sit Schols? And there isn't. All you have to do is sign up with the link from the senior lecturer and then confirm your attendance when they ask in November. Thanks.
I'm down here.
Last semester I taught a few modules under 65 and a couple of lecturers told me at college and all.
No.
Definitely not.
No. Yeah.
Not
geez.
nice.
Name and shame.
Shame.
No, that's not the case at all. So the question was if you have been discouraged by lectures previously because you have got below 65 in some exams, should you not sit Schols? And you shouldn't let any discouraging remarks from lecturers make you not sit Schols, basically. As I said, your previous exam performance has no impact on what you get in Schols. So try to push through those remarks. Which accommodations? Oh, accommodations. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, the question was just, do disability accommodations apply for Schols? Yes, they do. And there will be the kind of session in collaboration with the disability service about exam accommodations in 2 weeks' time, provisionally the 9th of October.
Do we have any other questions?
Is there one there? Oh, no, sorry.
Yes,
Yes,
yourself?
go ahead.
I think that might be best asked, or perhaps the scholar volunteers in the Q&A session after.
Yeah, the question was whether there's a syllabus available, particularly for courses that change quite a lot year to year. There isn't a syllabus available. I think past papers, looking at those would help, and talking to past scholars, and then also just asking your course or your school if they can answer that question for you. Hopefully they'll be helpful about it. But thanks for the question. So the question was, are all exams going to be held in the week of the 6th of January? And I think they all are, yeah. They're all held in that week. Are the exams bell curved was the question? They're not, no. No. I mean, there's no official yes or no answer, but no, they're not bell curved. Yeah, sorry. So we have 4 exams. That we have 2 exams on the same day, or no, I don't think anyone. No, you never have to sit 2 exams in the same day. For myself, with 4 exams, it was Monday, Tuesday. Oh, my apologies. Sorry. Joint honors day. Okay, so potentially, yeah. Sorry. God. Any chance you have to sit the 3 exams in the same day?
Hopefully not, but you can check your exam timetable.
We don't think so.
out.
Shh, near there. Yeah, so the question was will last year's January 2024 Schols exams be made available? Hopefully before your exams, I think. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but ask the department. Yeah, it's either the department is slowing it up or academic registry, but go to the department first, I think, and they'd be able to tell you. If there's any more, just wave. I can't really see.
Down the back.
No. Oh, yeah, yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the question was for topics or for subjects that have more topics than there are exams to be examined, how are they counted? It varies from school to school. For example, medicine had 8 topics examined across 4 papers. So the first one was anatomy and physiology, let's say, and you just had to pass that as you weren't marked individually in those topics. You were marked as a whole exam. So I'm sure there's probably an analogous thing in whatever exam you're doing or whatever subject there is. Does anyone have any experience with that? No, okay. Yeah, so they'll combine them. There won't be any more than 3 or 4 exams. So they'll probably combine topics. Okay, sorry. Did I answer that question correctly? Or if I did I answer that question correctly about the topics and yeah, Grant, sorry, I can help you more. Yeah.
Do you have any more questions? If you do, just wait really vigorously.
Okay, I don't think so.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Sorry, could you clarify the question? Blackboard notes as in like lecture material during the Schols exam? No, so the question was, will there be access to Blackboard material or any kind of open book component? Schols are.
Yeah, I did hear as well, certain courses were open book.
Okay, potentially, maybe some subjects there are. I think in general, they're closed book exams in exam halls. But ask your subject scholar who's going to be here soon. One there, yes. So the question was, do you tend to have choice in the papers? My paper had choice, or all my papers had choice.
It's the same, yeah.
For mine, there was one general paper and you'd no choice. So I think it is very discipline specific.
Yeah, but I think generally a fair bit of choice. Yeah.
So you can, yeah, that's it. You don't have to be abroad to choose cash in lieu of rooms. It's roughly 2,200 and it's paid for 4 installments throughout the year.
Yeah, you don't have to be abroad or you can just say, if you live in Dublin or if you have a house already sorted, you don't have to take the rooms and you can take the money regardless of what you're doing for the year.
But unfortunately, it's nowhere near the price of living in Dublin today.
Yeah. The question was, if you have a bursary and you get Schols, do you lose the bursary? It depends, says Alex here. Yeah.
SAF is not affected by Schols, I can tell you that. SAF, through TAP, yeah. Or any any SUSI maintenance grants either. That's not affected by Schols.
I would say contact whoever is giving the bursary and ask them what their policy is. Thanks. International students are affected. Okay. So if you want to say there that international students might be affected, how would you recommend? It's case by case. I think maybe contact academic registry or whoever's administering the bursary if you want to find out more.
Is that okay? Do we have any more questions? No? So that's it then for the general presentation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go forth.